Hello there, and welcome to the Outside Views weekly magazine on the politics of the European Union. The EU, together with international partners, wants to force Russia to sell oil below the market price to buyers in other countries. An agreement reached by government representatives on Friday provides for an initial price limit of $60 per barrel, as several diplomats told the German press agency. The price of around 57 euros per 159 liters would then be up to 9 euros below the most recent market price for Russian crude oil. According to the plans, it will apply from Monday, so tomorrow. The seven leading democratic economic powers, the G7 and Australia, in consultation with the European Union, joined the planned price cap for oil from Russia. This was announced by the G7 and Australia on Saturday night. In addition to Germany, the G7 also includes the USA, Canada, France, Great Britain, Italy, and Japan, and Germany currently chairs the group and has the presidency. In order to enforce the price cap, it should be regulated that in future, important services for Russian oil exports may only be provided with impunity if the price of the exported oil does not exceed the price cap. Western shipping companies could use their ships to continue transporting Russian oil to third countries such as India. The regulation should also apply to other important services such as insurance, technical assistance and financing, and also brokerage services. The hope is that the price cap will ease the tension on the energy markets and relieve third countries. In addition, it should also ensure that Russia no longer benefits from rising oil prices and can thus fill its war chest. In order to be able to react to market developments, the plans envisage reviewing the price cap every 2 months. It should always be at least 5% below an average price determined by the International Energy Agency, IEA. The price cap is intended to complement the oil embargo against Russia that the EU decided in June. Among other things, this provides for a ban on the purchase, import, or forwarding of crude oil and certain petroleum products from Russia to the EU. The restrictions apply from December 5th for crude oil and from February 5th for other petroleum products. However, there are some exceptions, for example, for Hungary. The first reaction from Russia was, of course, criticism. According to the prominent foreign politician Leonid Slutsky, the EU's decisions are endangering its energy security. And in addition, the EU is also violating market laws, as the state agency TASS reported on Slutsky's reaction on Friday. The Commission has set itself the goal of reducing tobacco use in order to fight lung cancer. An important building block is the ban on flavored heated tobacco products that came in force last week. This ban is in response to the significant increase in sales of these products in the EU, and I know I'm one of the customers. Member states now have 8 months to transpose the directive into national law. The European plan to fight cancer aims for a tobacco-free generation, which means that by 2040, less than 5% of the population will use tobacco. The delegated directive prohibits heated tobacco products with a distinctive flavor. Heated tobacco products are novel tobacco products that are heated to produce a substance containing nicotine and other chemical substances, which is then inhaled by the user. The ban does not apply to electronic cigarettes, though. Member states now have 8 months to transpose the directive into national law. The new rules will be fully applicable from October 23rd next year. Until then, there's a 3-month grace period to sell inventory of flavored heated tobacco products that are still there. Inclusion, democratic participation, ecological and digital change. 4.2 billion euros will be available for the EU education program Erasmus Plus in the coming year. The EU Commission published the call for proposals for this. The main aim of the EU program is to promote the mobility of pupils, students, people in vocational education and training, adult learners, young people in non-formal learning programs, educational and other staff. The program will meet the challenges that the EU expects for 2023. It will provide meaningful support to learners and educational staff fleeing the war in Ukraine and continue to strive for greater inclusion, building on the fruits of the European Year of Youth. Erasmus Plus support is earmarked for activities that contribute to the program priorities in the areas of school education, higher and adult education, vocational education and training, and youth and sport. On the basis of open calls for project applications, any public or private entity active in the fields of education, training, youth and sport, with the support of Erasmus Plus national agencies, which are located in all EU member states and also in the states associated with the program. And there you can apply for funding from the European Executive Agency for Education and Culture. The entire Erasmus Plus program focuses on 4 key priorities, including inclusion and diversity. Organizations and participants with fewer opportunities are at the heart of this priority. The program therefore continues to support mechanisms for the inclusion of participants and also provides dedicated resources to address barriers to their participation. In 2023, Erasmus Plus will further increase its commitment to this priority, supporting more projects that facilitate the integration of people fleeing the war in Ukraine into their new host environment and promoting educational activities for students in Ukraine. A few days after the COP27 climate conference and 2 weeks before the start of the COP15 biodiversity conference, the Commission is granting further funding for its European Green Deal priorities. It has approved more than 380 million euros for 168 new projects across Europe as part of the LIFE program for environmental and climate policy. This means that the funds will be increased by a good quarter, with 27% compared to last year. They should mobilize more than 562 million euros in investments. The projects have sub-programs as nature and biodiversity, circular economy and quality of life, climate protection and adaptation to climate change, as well as energy transition. LIFE projects can help the EU become carbon neutral by 2050. They support the biodiversity strategy for 2030 and the circular economy action plan, while contributing to the energy transition across Europe. Well-stocked underground storage facilities help to ensure gas supply in the Union and market stability. The energy system can also deal better with it when demand increases sharply or the supply drops or is even interrupted in phases. In order to be well prepared for the winter of next year, the Commission has set intermediate targets for the refilling of the gas storage facilities. In a so-called implementing regulation based on the EU gas storage regulation, the Commission has set interim targets for February, May, July and September 2023. In the end, the member states with gas storage facilities should have a filling level of 90%, and the deadline for this is November 1st in 2023. Well-stocked underground gas storage facilities contribute to security of gas supply. They provide additional gas for heat supply in winter and in the event of high demand or supply disruptions. This is all the more important given Russia's military aggression against Ukraine and the Kremlin's decision to weaponize gas exports. The gas storage regulation has been instrumental in allowing EU countries to refill storage this year. By November 1st, there was an unprecedented 95% fill rate. The interim target plan aims to encourage EU countries to keep an eye on the target for next November before the bottling season starts again in March. In future, member states should make best use of all coordination tools available at EU levels. This includes bundling demand and participating in joint procurement mechanisms that facilitate more coordinated control of filling and storage and avoid excessive prices. Women who have been victims of violence will in future receive free help and advice throughout the EU on the same number, 116016. This number has been in use here in Germany, for example, since 2013. The EU hotline for women affected by violence is to be available in all EU countries by the end of April, and that was announced by the EU Commission. The need to prevent and combat violence against women, protect victims and punish perpetrators has been announced as a key Commission priority in President von der Leyen's political guidelines and as part of the Gender Equality Strategy 2020 to 2025. On March 8th, the Commission proposed EU-wide rules to combat violence against women and domestic violence. The proposed directive criminalizes rape based on lack of consent, female genital mutilation, and cyber violence. Cyber violence includes non-consensual sharing of intimate images, cyber stalking, cyberbullying, and incitement to violence or hatred online. The new rules also improve victims' access to justice and encourage member states to set up a one-stop shop to centralize all support and protection services. Violence against women and domestic violence are widespread across the EU and are estimated to affect 1 in 3 women in the EU. Every second woman has experienced sexual harassment, and 1 in 20 women says they have been raped. Online violence is also on the rise and is particularly aimed at women in public life, such as journalists and politicians. Every second young woman has experienced gender-based cyber violence. Women also face violence at work. Around a third of women in the EU who have experienced sexual harassment have been at work. The European Commission has published the results of its 7th evaluation of the Code of Conduct for combating illegal hate speech online. Unfortunately, this year's results show a declining trend in the reporting and remedy procedures of companies. The number of reports reviewed by companies within 24 hours fell from 90.4% in 2020 to 81% in 2021 and 64.4% in 2022 compared to the previous 2 years. TikTok is the only company that has improved its verification time. At 63.6%, the removal rate is also well below the peak of 2020. Only YouTube scored better on this parameter than in the last 2 years. However, there is a positive development in terms of the frequency and quality of feedback from companies to users. To support the implementation of the Code of Conduct and to fill gaps in reporting and remediation procedures, the IT companies and the network of trusted whistleblowers involved in the surveillance activities have agreed on a framework for action. It defines cooperation initiatives between the parties in which they undertake to intensify their dialogue to combat hate speech online. The Commission will continue to monitor the implementation of the Code of Conduct. The European Commission supports the Grain from Ukraine initiative, which specifically involves the loading of 2 grain freighters. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky officially launched the initiative last weekend and chose the commemoration day for the Holodomor, in English, killing by hunger, 90 years ago. The Ukrainian initiative aims to channel Ukrainian food to the countries hardest hit by the Kremlin-induced global food crisis. Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen praised the government's commitment in Kiev. Ukraine shows an unwavering commitment to global food security, international responsibility, and solidarity with those most in need, and we stand by your side. The EU contribution to the Grains Initiative complements the 28 million tons of agricultural products from Ukraine already channeled through the so-called EU Solidarity Corridors and the Black Sea Grains Initiative. In her speech, the President of the Commission also turned back to history, to the Holodomor. In 1932 and 1933, Soviet dictator Joseph Stalin caused a great famine that killed several million people in Ukraine. That concludes today's weekly magazine on the politics of the EU. But I made some changes to my channels so it's a little bit more economical and you don't have to subscribe to that many channels. So on this channel from now on you will have a magazine every day on a different area of the world. And It's not only the EU, but it's also Europe. That's about countries that are not in the EU as well. It's about America, and with America I mean the whole of it, North and South. It's Africa and Arabia. It's Asia and Oceania. And it will be about Germany because I am German, so I still have to deliver a lot of stuff about Germany to you because that's where I am. And of course, it's all started with it on my main channel, so you get a weekly magazine on British politics as well here on this channel. But every day you will have one magazine, and I hope you enjoy them. And so I hope to see you on this channel every day. And I'll see you in my next video. I'll be back.